which free agents should the Bengals consider signing to bolster their roster in hopes of making it back to the Super Bowl? Hi again, everyone, and welcome in to Cincinnati Bengals Talk. I'm James Rapien of allbengals.com, and that's the question, because the Bengals, they still have some holes, and there's still talent out there, proven talent, top talent, that in their role could contribute for these high-end contending Super Bowl teams, including your Cincinnati Bengals. Now, the obvious areas of need: offensive line, we're going to hammer that one home. Defensive line, you still need a 3 technique. We'll cover that. But there's also a spot or two that, well, we're going to talk about that might surprise you. But players matter, and what players are out there? What are the best players out there that fit what the Bengals are going to do? And I'm going to start. We're going to go to the trenches, I promise. But we've spent a lot of time on the trenches. You know who the Bengals should go after? Will Fuller. Yes, the former first-round pick of the Houston Texans. Yes, the guy that only played in 2 games for the Dolphins last year in just 60 snaps. Yes, the guy that was suspended for PEDs for a couple of games a couple of years ago. That Will Fuller. For a variety of reasons. One, the Bengals wide receiver depth, well, it isn't there. And while they do like guys like Mike Thomas and Trent Taylor, Stanley Morgan Jr., they don't have a true wide receiver for behind the big 3. And who doesn't love the big 3? Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, they're great. But if one of those guys gets dinged up, T. Higgins right now not currently participating in offseason workouts, even though his shoulder is healing well, he has full range of motion, all of those things, and he should be good to go for training camp, well, suddenly you feel it. You feel how shallow that room is. And a guy like Will Fuller, he's had his injuries. He's certainly flawed. He is not a perfect player by any stretch. But he gives the Bengals another dynamic, another guy that can scare defenses and put fear in opposing defenses if the big 3 aren't out there, if one of those guys is dinged up. And when you add him to a roster that already has Chase, Boyd, and Higgins, well, let's say Higgins gets dinged up. That's okay. Fuller can play on the outside. Well, let's say Boyd gets dinged up. That's fine. You could put Fuller and Chase on the inside in the slot, and you still have a big 3 that is able to really scare opposing defenses. So to me, this would make a lot of sense. And why would Fuller want to come to Cincinnati when he's not going to get a ton of targets? Well, for a few reasons. One, hey, Will, you can't stay healthy. That's been a big thing. You haven't been able to stay healthy. Maybe in a more limited role, you can maximize your value. You averaged 16.6 yards per catch at over 800 yards in 2020. And maybe you could average 18 yards per catch, 20 yards per catch, have 6 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns in a reserve role. Or if someone does get nicked up or suffer a serious injury, and you hope that doesn't happen if you're the Bengals, you can step into an even bigger role with an offense that should be the best and would be the best, I think, that Will Fuller has played on in his NFL career. So that's number 1. Number 2 to me, well, let's stick on offense, and it's a familiar face. Riley Reiff. I think Riley Reiff, he visited the Jets last week. I think Reiff would make a ton of sense because he could serve as a swing tackle, has played left tackle for most of his career, played right tackle for the Bengals last season, made 12 starts, has that veteran pedigree you look for, is certainly someone that commanded respect in the locker room, and the coaching staff certainly liked what he brought to the team and to the locker room. And I think he'd fit right in his pursuit for a Super Bowl ring. He's 33 years old, okay? So take this reserve role, which he was probably going to get with the Jets anyway if he ended up signing there, and as of now he hasn't, and run with it. I also think he could be a backup guard, maybe even slide into that left guard spot, depending. But Riley Reiff is another guy that I would target, and I have another offensive lineman on my list. I also have a defensive lineman on my list, and then a couple dark horses and guys that I think the Bengals will avoid. But I have to tell you about Rivertown Inkery. I was at Rivertown Inkery last week, stopped in, got a mug, got a Dear Coffee, I Need You shirt. Look, Rivertown Inkery is an awesome place to go if you're looking for Cincinnati gear, if you're looking for something unique, like a Tiger Rocks glass, you want to drink bourbon. Yeah, I got some bourbon drinkers out there. Or if you're just a coffee drinker, well, there are glasses like that. There are pint glasses for beers and plenty of Cincinnati gear, orange and black gear, Tiger Lock shirts, Joe Goodberry memorabilia, all that stuff in one spot. And if you're not in Cincinnati and you can't stop by their Oakley location, that's fine. You can shop from the convenience of your own home at rivertowninkery.com. They're open 6 days a week, closed Mondays, open Tuesday through Sunday. So check them out at rivertowninkery.com. All right, third on this list, another familiar face, Larry Ogunjobi. Look, Larry Ogunjobi was really good for the Bengals last year in his role. And he, oddly enough, visited the Jets as well about a month ago, maybe over a month ago now. 2-day visit, didn't end up signing, had agreed to terms with the Bears. I'm sure you know that 4-year deal worth $40+ million. And now he's going to have to prove himself again. Still good friends with DJ Reader, was a star in his role last year. Why not bring him back? Say, Larry, come back here. We're a Super Bowl contender. You're going to fill this role. We're going to be able to maximize your value, and you're going to be able to hit the free agent market again after you show the world that you're healthy and that you're still capable of playing at a high level. I think Larry Ogunjobi makes a lot of sense and takes some pressure off of Zach Carter and some of these other young guys as well. And then there's one more. And as of a couple weeks ago, he was still working out with Bengals players, but Quinton Spain is someone, I know it was a bummer in the Super Bowl, and he got beat by Aaron Donald on the outside. You're hoping he forces him inside. To me, Quinton Spain is someone that you could bring in and be a backup guard on both sides. Clearly doesn't have a huge market. So there's one. The other one I would say is Trey Hopkins. A lot of familiar faces. The Bengals like familiarity. Would not be shocked if they said, you know what? Ben Brown isn't ready. We don't love Trey Hill at center. We know what Trey Hopkins is, and he's still out there. Maybe he can be our backup center behind Ted Karras. So those are the guys, 5 guys that I think that the Bengals could and might consider signing. If it were me, I would want Fuller, Ogunjobi, Reef. I think those are the 3 most talented. I don't think they're going to get all 3. But to me, those guys, if you add them, man, your depth just skyrockets, and you're getting 3 proven players. Fuller can be a star in his own role. I know some of you probably are rolling your eyes, but he can, and I think he would be, and he'd give that Bengals wide receiver unit just a huge, huge boost. And then Larry Ogunjobi and Riley Reef would certainly upgrade the trenches as well. I know some will say, well, Fuller doesn't play special teams. Your 5th and 6th receivers can play special teams. Fuller can get on the field just by being full of speed in single coverage, which, man, can you imagine? A lot of empty sets. Hayden Hurst split out along with Fuller in the big 3. It's pretty scary. All right, here are 2 free agents that I think the Bengals could consider going after and probably should, but won't. JC Tretter is one of them. And I love the idea of bringing in JC Tretter, moving Ted Karras to left guard on paper. Just doesn't seem like it's something the Bengals are interested in doing. Also, Trey Flowers, defensive end, could bolster your pass rush some and just give you some more juice. I get it. Joseph Osai's coming back. People feel really good about him. You got Sam Hubbard. You got Trey Hendrickson. You also can never have enough pass rushers. So that's the other one that I would consider. And then after that, there are guys out there. I know some might say Odell Beckham Jr. I just think it's unrealistic. I think Will Fuller's probably it is more realistic. I will say that, but it is more of the temperament they'd be looking for. Like, not that Odell isn't easy to get along with. I don't think they're going to go for some kind of splash like that for a 4th wide receiver. And who knows? Maybe he ends up back with the Rams. Rob Gronkowski, I think he ends up going back to Tampa Bay. That doesn't make sense. I'm just going through the free agent list here. Eric Fisher, wrong side of 30. I just don't anticipate him or them wanting him necessarily. They're familiar with Riley Reef. I think they would go that route first. And there are guys out there, Sheldon Richardson and Ndamukong Suh, that are still available. I just don't see it. I think Larry Ogunjobi would be the route they go. And obviously he would have to pass a physical. So those are the guys that honestly stand out the most. To me, again, if I had to rank them, Fuller, Reef, Ogunjobi. If you could get those 3, that'd be great. At the same time, JC Tretter is probably the best player on this list, and I don't really see that happening. So who do you want the Bengals to sign? Do you want them to bring back some of these familiar faces? Are you just saying, nah, Jackson Carman and these young guys will be good on the offensive line? Maybe you feel that way. Maybe you think that the signing of Will Fuller is redundant or you don't need it. To me, I want to give Joey B as many weapons as possible and increase some depth there. We'll see what they do. I do think they're going to add a player or 2 to this roster before camp, and we will have more from Bengals OTAs on Tuesday. We'll be there, so make sure you buckle up and get ready because Cincinnati Bengals Talk has got you covered. Hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for Andrew Fox Miller, our video coordinator and channel producer. I'm James Rapien signing off for now right here on Cincinnati Bengals Talk.